Who will have a better year with their new team? Saquon Barkley with the Eagles or Derrick Henry with the Ravens? When you go into the statistical conversation when it comes to the running backs, you see Saquon Barkley started his first game and the year with his new team, the Eagles, off with 24 carries, which leads the league, 109 yards, which is second in the league. You have 2 touchdowns, which leads the league. And then he's got 4.5 rushing yards on an average every time he touches the ball, which is 7th in the league. Compared to Derrick Henry, 13 carries, which is tied for 5th. You have 46 yards rushing, which is tied for 4th. And then you got 1 touchdown, which is tied for 2nd. He had the first touchdown of the game and first touchdown of the season. And then average yards per carry, 3.5. So that's 8th in the league. So when you look at their stats side by side, you can see that one guy was a lot more dominant than the other. Now, that was Saquon Barkley, which is my answer to this question. Saquon will have the better year. And I truly mean that. Here's why. The Eagles know how to use running backs. When they had Miles Sanders, they used him perfectly. Nobody really knew who Miles Sanders was, but you know what? He played perfectly. He fit into the role. They ran the ball a lot. They do a lot of RPOs. They do a lot of stuff like that. So the Eagles have that type of offense where the running back is a perfect spot. A really good running back is a perfect spot for this team. Now, the Ravens, for example, they already have their running back, which is their quarterback, and that's Lamar Jackson. Like I've said plenty of times before on this show, no matter who's the running back for the Ravens, the Baltimore Ravens, John Harbaugh, he is going to put all of his trust and all of his faith into Lamar Jackson. Their offense, the whole entire offense is built around Lamar Jackson, not Derrick Henry. Now, when you go and look at Game 1 against the Chiefs when they lost 27-20, you could see that Derrick Henry was not even the main running back on the field for majority of the game. That's because they're still trying to figure out, even with that whole offseason, how to fit Derrick Henry perfectly into the offense. You can't. You can't. Because Derrick Henry was coming from the Titans, which is a team that wasn't really anything stellar, and they're nothing really great. So because of that, he shined. They relied on him because he was the best player on the field most of the time and the best player on the team. So they relied on him a lot to get the job done. So most of their wins was mainly because of his running ability and his ability to be dominant and physical and be able to run and get touchdowns. Now, that was his specialty and that was his number one option job. Now, when he moves to the Ravens, which is a team that was previously in the AFC Championship game a year previous, you're talking about a team that already identified their key person, which is Lamar Jackson. They already identified their number one receiver, which is Zay Flowers. They already identified that their defense is great. They have good schemes. They already identified their number one and number two tight end. They already understand everything. They have already identified the fact that their head coach is one of the best head coaches in the league and in NFL history. So you have to understand that they already have everything identified. They know who they are. They know who they are. Derrick Henry is going in there, and they're thinking he's going to perform as well as he was in Tennessee, or at least the fans are, and at least all the critics are, but he's not. It's common sense. He's not going to be utilized as much. He's not going to be relied upon as much. So his job and his expectation and his requirements aren't as high as it used to be. So his production is going to be less. Therefore, how can he do better with his team versus Saquon with the Eagles? Because like I just got done saying, the Eagles are a team where they use the running back frequently. They use Saquon Barkley frequently in the game against the Packers. They used him. All right, he got 109 yards. You could see it. They barely used Derrick Henry. They used him on the first possession, and that was the possession where they scored the touchdown. Besides that, they didn't really use him that much, so he wasn't getting involved. Saquon was involved with the Eagles the entire game. He was there. He was able to score multiple touchdowns, doing his job and getting in a role, getting in a rhythm, and he got it. He got it. The Eagles have a more complex offense than the Ravens do. The Ravens are just a run-heavy offense, and when they tried to be a pass-heavy offense last year, you saw where that got them. They got them all the way to the NFC or the AFC Championship game, and then they flopped. Because when they needed to play good and run on top of being able to pass the football against a decent defense, they failed to execute. They failed to do it in the biggest of moments, which is what Lamar Jackson and the Ravens continuously do year in and year out. They cannot get past the playoffs. They can't get to the Super Bowl. They can't get to the promised land, and that is because they are a run-heavy offense and run-heavy quarterbacks, and one-dimensional quarterbacks that are only running do not get their teams to the Super Bowl because they cannot do what a quarterback is meant to do. Make smart decisions and throw the football when you need to. He's not an elite thrower of the football. Jalen Hurts is somewhat of an elite passer of the football. He isn't really elite, but he is on the borderline of really good and elite at throwing the football. He's a dual threat. He can run and he can throw. But as an overall player, he's a better player than Lamar is because Lamar is elite at running, but not at throwing. His throwing ability isn't better than Jalen Hurts, but Jalen Hurts' running ability is really good. So the two things that you look at Jalen Hurts that he can do is better than the one elite thing that Lamar can do. So my point to you is that the offense and the way the offense is built for the Eagles is better fit for Saquon Barkley and a running back where they will utilize their running back more and get more production out of their running back, as opposed to the Ravens as their running back is their quarterback, because their key player is their quarterback. So no matter what you do, he's going to be the one with the most yards. He's going to be the one with the most rushing yards, all that extra stuff. It's not going to be Derrick Henry. There will be games where that happens, so don't get my words wrong. There will be games where Derrick Henry gets more rushing yards than Lamar, maybe, but it's not going to be majority of the time because at the end of the day, Lamar Jackson is the guy they trust with their life on the line, which I don't know why, because Derrick Henry is a better player than Lamar Jackson is. When you're talking about who's better at their specialty, Derrick Henry has proven himself as the number 1 or number 2 running back in the league for the past few years. So my point to you is I don't know why the Ravens are going to do that. He is one of the best running backs in the league. He's better than Saquon Barkley. But as a team, with your new team and a new fit, how you fit in the system, Saquon fits better with the Eagles' offense and in their system as opposed to Derrick Henry does in the Ravens' offense. Thanks for watching this edition of the Daniel Saul Show. Make sure you go like, turn on post notifications on as always, and comment. Let me know what you think about this video. And if you want to see more greatness and more clips from this show, make sure you go subscribe to my channel because I will be back with more videos on football, basketball, and boxing very soon. Peace out, y'all.